this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind, and write them in their hearts. And I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord. For all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins, and their iniquities will I remember no more. In that he saith a new covenant, he hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away.
According to the Holy Scriptures, Yahweh Shai, the Son of the Most High, is set to bring immortality to the nation of Israel, the elect, via establishing the tabernacle of David, as we talk about the second coming of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. He is coming to take down this current world ruled by Esau, Edom, and establish a righteous kingdom, which is synonymous with the throne of David. That's scriptural, which is a government that's going to run this world in righteousness.
But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind, and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord. For all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins, and their iniquities will I remember no more. In that he saith a new covenant, he hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away. For this is the covenant.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, is dealing with, all right, 1 Samuel, the 4th chapter, and this account, goes into how, disobedience, equals defeat, as Israelites. When we're disobedient to our power by default, it puts us in a position, all right, to be defeated, okay? And the reason why we're in captivity now is because of disobedience, all right? And this obedience to Yahweh Shai through faith, that's lifting us up in this captivity, okay? So as we, have to understand, we go through our history and we see, all the times when our people will be plagued with poor leadership, which will put us in bad standings with our power, and we will be vulnerable, to the heathen, okay? And this account in the book of 1 Samuel, the 4th chapter, goes into that, and there's another account we want to get in Joshua, when disobedience, caused, us, defeat, okay? So when you go to the book of 1 Samuel, and we'll get it here, all right, just to get into it, get into these accounts. Now remember, in the 3rd chapter, Eli, is called by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, You know, he's chosen, he's called out, you know, young priest, you know, and you had Eli and his sons. You know, you pretty much had, you know, passive and corrupt leadership, you know, because Eli, he just wasn't a terrible guy, you know, but his lack, you know, of being assertive, you know, with his authority in the priesthood and allowing his sons to run amok, you know, caused, you know, a ripple effect amongst Israel that caused them to be in bad standards with their power. Okay, so what we're finna see is the Lord getting ready to get rid of one regime, all right, a wicked regime, Eli and his sons, and replace it with a righteous regime, all right, through Samuel. Okay, and this is what we're about to see in the earth this time, all right, as, you know, you look at our people, it's plagued, all right, with poor leadership, with terrible leadership. Okay, when you look at you know, these pastors, okay, wicked Israelite camps, okay, entertainers, athletes that represent the leadership of our people at this time, okay, which is all off, corrupt, and you see the condition of the people, all right, but you have the elect whom the Lord is raising up, all right, the the ones, you know, that's least suspected, okay, as Samuel, you know, was young, okay, to himself out the way. You know, he slept in the temple. You know, he slept close to the Ark of the Covenant. You know, which shows, you know, the Lord was dealing. You know, but just as Samuel, you know, was being groomed, you know, to replace poor leadership, you have the hopeful elect. Okay, the men whom the Lord has raised up in this time. All right, of the hopeful elect. You know, because you have women and children. That's a part of the hopeful elect as well. But you have the men, okay, whom the Lord has raised up in these times, okay, to groom them for the next, all right, rulership that's to come, you know. And this is what we're seeing happen in real time, all right. That's why when you go into our history, it goes into, hey there, hey. So yeah, when you go into our history, it always gives us a foreshadow, you know, of something bigger to come in these times, which we're seeing. So when you go to the book of 1 Samuel chapter 4, we're about to see the Lord make good on his word, you know, towards Eli and his sons. So when you read it, 1 Samuel 4, okay, and 1, and it says, and Samuel's words went out to all of the people of Israel at that time was the war, all right. At that time, Israel was at war with the Philistines. The Israelite army was camped near Ebenezer, and the Philistines were at Pek. The Philistines attacked and defeated the army of Israel, killing 4,000 men. After the battle was over, the troops retreated to the camp, and the elders of Israel asked, why did the Lord allow us to be defeated by the Philistines? Then the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord from Shiloh. Okay, let's bring the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord from Shiloh. If we carried it into battle with us, all right, will save us from our enemies. And see, Jake, you know, was being defeated, all right, by the Philistines, because we was at war with the Philistines at this time, and the Philistines were getting the ups, okay, and in Jake's mind, they couldn't figure it out. So their mind said, well, let's just go get the ark. We'll take the ark with us, and we'll be victorious, man. Okay, so when you go here, verse 5, it says, when all the Israelites saw the Ark of the Covenant, okay, of the Lord coming into the camp, their shout or joy was so loud, it made the ground shake. What's going on? The Philistine asked, what's all the shouting about in the Hebrew camp? When they were told it was because the Ark of the Lord had arrived, they panicked. All right, the gods have come into their camp. They cried, this is a disaster. Okay, so it's all the Most High. When you read it, let me read it in NLT, I mean the KJV on this part. It says, and the Philistines were afraid, for they said, the Most High is coming to the camp. And they said, woe unto us, for there have not been such a thing here too. Woe unto us, who shall deliver us out of the hands of the mighty gods? These are the gods that smote the Egyptians with all the plagues in the wilderness. Okay, let you know that the Lord had made a name for himself, what he did in Egypt. Okay, and not only in Egypt, but as Israel was on their way to the promised land, how they were, defeating, okay, those different Hamite kings, on the way, all right, to Jerusalem, okay, on the way to, conquer, all right, and claim the land of Israel, okay. So the Lord was making a name for himself, and, when the Philistines heard that the Ark of the Covenant was brought to the camp of Israel, they was in fear, okay. But what we have to understand, Jake, was so focused on, outward symbolism, but Jake didn't understand their inward man wasn't right. That's why the Lord wasn't with him. Okay? So let's go read on some more. It said, woe unto us, verse 8, woe unto us, who shall deliver us out of the hand of the mighty gods? These are the gods that smote the Egyptians with all plagues in the wilderness. Be strong and quit yourselves like men, O ye Philistines, that ye be not servants unto the Hebrews as they have been to you. Quit yourselves like men and fight. Okay, so the Philistines are prepping themselves up, like, look, y'all gotta fight like never before, because they see Jake, is hype, rowdy, loud, okay, and the Philistines hyping themselves up, okay. Reading the NLT, it said, fight as never before, Philistines. If you don't, we will become the Hebrew slave just as they have been ours. Stand up like men and fight. So the Philistines fought desperately, and Israel was defeated again. The slaughter was great. 30,000 Israelite soldiers died that day. The survivors turned and fled to their tents. The Ark of the Most High was captured, and Hophni and Phinehas, the two sons of Eli, were killed. That was the judgment that the Lord pronounced. Okay, and the Lord was against Jake at the time. Poor leadership, okay, and poor leadership affects everything, man. It has a ripple effect, okay, because the fact that, these men were allowed to do this, go unchecked, okay, you best believe there became a culture and a standard amongst Jake, man. All right, and Jake was off, and the Lord wasn't dealing. You see, so Jake was going into these battles without the favor of the Lord. Okay, and let's go here. All right, and those, a known formula amongst the heathens, all right, was to attack us when we was in bad standards with our power. They knew when we, was disobedient that they could get the ups. Okay, but when we was obedient, all right, they didn't stand a chance, and we're gonna go into the 2. Now, let's go here. This is the book of Judah, chapter 5, and verse 17. It says, and while they sinned not before their power, they prospered, okay, because it says they prospered because the power that hated iniquity was with them, okay. The power that hated iniquity was with them, you see, and this was known knowledge amongst the heathen, man. Verse 18, but when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captives into the land that was not theirs, and the temple of the power was cast to the temple of their power, all right, Yahweh Shema Shai, was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. But now are they returned to their power, and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem, where the sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error against this people, and they sin against their power, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them, and their power before them, and we become, okay, a reproach before all the world. So going back, this was common knowledge, amongst the heathen. Okay, when Israel was in good standards with their power, there was nothing that these heathens can do with us, man. All right, but when we, got out of pocket, okay, with Yahweh Shema Shai, we will be vulnerable. Okay, and poor leadership led to our people, okay, being vulnerable, man. Okay, and the scriptures always address that. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 9, okay, verse 16. It says, for the leaders, okay, for the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. Okay? Hey, how you doing? Yeah, so when you get into it, and the scriptures say the leaders of our people, all right, will cause us to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed, man. You know, and we're seeing an example in 1 Samuel, as you had, you know, Eli and his sons was representing poor leadership, which eventually led to what? Okay, 30,000 men were put to death, okay, because of poor leadership. You see? And see, we coming to a time now where the Lord finna really show, all right, the consequences of poor leadership and those that follow that leadership. Okay, right now, you know, you can lead Israel any way you want. Okay, and everybody get to, you know, be unscathed. You know, people can just go wild out. You know, the leadership. Okay, treat, you know, the name of the Lord with no respect. Treat the Passover with no respect. Okay, you can make the truth about you. You know, you can, you know, grift the congregation. You can do anything right now. Okay. And just because there are no immediate consequences like we see happening in 1 Samuel, because even with 1 Samuel, this was a build-up, all right, because Eli's sons had been doing this for a while, okay, and the Lord just got fed up and he raised up the Philistines for judgment, man. Okay, and this time the Lord raised Esau up for judgment against a lot of you Israelite men and women that know that you're Israelites, man, that's caught up in this, caught up under poor leadership, man. The Lord has given you over to poor leadership, man. Okay, and we know it's of the Lord that has to give you over to poor leadership, because there's no doubt that these men are off. Okay, and I always mention the big three: IUIC, Sakari, and ISUPK. Okay, it doesn't take a nuclear physics to see that these guys are off, man. They're not in the spirit. Okay, but we're finna see the Lord reach out, okay, and judge, all right, poor leadership and his followers, man. Okay, just as we seen here, even them 30,000 men, you best believe those 30,000 men, okay, didn't die innocent. They wasn't innocent, man. Okay, but the blood of those men was on Eli and his sons. Okay, so let's go here, because when we in good standings, let's go to Joshua 1, and then we'll jump to the 7th chapter. Okay, this is I start Joshua 1:1. It says now after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua the son of Nun, okay, Moses minister, saying, Moses my servant is dead, and now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all the people, unto the land which I give to them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that it said that I have given unto you, it said unto Moses, from the wilderness, all right, and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, all right, even unto the great river Euphrates, in the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea toward the going down of the sun, shall be your coast. So the Lord, you know, is telling Joshua, look, go conquer, you know, everything that I promised Moses, which he's, you know, deceased. Okay, and I'm raising you up. Okay, you're going to lead the people into the land that I promised. Okay, everything that your feet tread upon shall be yours. Okay, so keep reading. It says, this the point: there shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. So he's telling Joshua, look, nobody's going to be able to stand in front of you, man. Which means they're not going to be able to do anything with you in the armies of Israel. You know, I'm not gonna fail you in battle. I'm gonna be with you every step of the way. You know, in which we understand, hey, Howard Shai was aiding, you know, in this campaign. You go to the Joshua the 5th chapter toward the end. You know, the angel of the Lord with that capital A, which was Yahweh Shai. All right, the captain of the host. All right, verse 6, it says, be strong and of good courage, for unto this people shalt thou divide, all right, an inheritance, all right, the land which I swear unto their fathers to give them. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand, or, all right, to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. So he was giving him the incentive, all right, of obedience. Like, look, as long as you be obedient, nobody gonna be able to stand before you. You're not gonna fail in battle as long as you're obedient. Okay, you do what I say, you don't have anything to worry about. Okay, and you read this, and Joshua went on a run. You know, Joshua and the armies of Israel, you know, they were just coming through the land, kicking ass and taking names. Okay, they was running through kings, man. You go into the book of Joshua, man. They was running through, all right, the armies of these Hamites, man. All right, these Canaanites. You see, because the Lord was with him, and Joshua was on point. He was always obedient, man. You know, the people that was with him, they was obedient. But you had one hiccup, okay? When you go to the book of Joshua, the 7th chapter, let's get this incident, okay? It says, this Joshua 7:1, it says, but Israel violated the instructions about the things set apart for the Lord. A man named Achan had stolen some things, it says stolen some of these dedicated things, so the Lord was very angry with the Israelites. Achan was the son of Carmi, a descendant of Zemir, son of Zerah of the tribe of Judah. All right, so you had this wicked Judite, Achan, you know, wanted to do his own thing, and it just shows you, all right, that one disobedience, you know, is going to have a major effect, okay, on the group, okay. You see, and said verse 2, Joshua sent some of his men to Jericho to spy out the town of Ai, all right, east of Bethel, near Beth Aven. All right, when they returned, they told Joshua, there's no need for all of us to go up there. It won't take more than 2,000 or 3,000, all right, to attack, 2,000 or 3,000 men to attack Ai, since there are so few of them. Don't make all our people struggle to go up there. So remember, like I say, Joshua and the armies of Israel, you know, they had been going on the campaign. They've been going on a major winning streak, you know. So it was, you know, they went up to spy out, you know, this little city of Ai, and the spies came back and were like, look, man, we don't need send, you know, the whole military up there. Send 2,000-3,000 men up there, and that's gonna be light work, you know. In they mind, like, this is easy work, but they didn't know what Achan had did, okay, and that the Lord wasn't with them. You see, they're gonna find out the hard way. Verse 4, so approximately 3,000 warriors were sent, but they were soundly defeated. The men of Ai chased the Israelites from the town gates as far as the quarries. It says, and they killed about 36 who were retreating down to the slope. The Israelites were paralyzed with fear at this turn of events, and their courage melted away, you know, and they were stunned. You know, like, you gotta think, in their mind, they had already counted Ai as a defeat. They wasn't even, you know, taking these guys serious, man, because they were small in numbers. But see, the difference maker was the Lord wasn't with them. Okay, the Heavenly Father wasn't with them this time. All right, showing you that, hey, it's not of ourselves, man. We doing nothing of ourselves, man. You see, even Yahweh Shah said that as we, you know, teach this word, as we're on the front line of this spiritual war, okay, the only thing that's keeping us, all right, increasing us in this thing is because we attach to Yahweh Shai, the true vine. Okay, let's get that real quick. But Jake he like, God damn, Jake confused. They didn't get it. Like the Lord had us winning, all these campaigns against these great militaries, because they was winning against the odds. But when the practical odds was in their favor, they lost. So it's like, damn, they was confused, But going back into it just to prove, let's get that real quick in John 15. And this is why, none of us could be proud, no matter what we've accomplished, okay, every day, it's day for day depending on the Lord, okay? We can never be full of ourselves, get beside ourselves like, it's something we're doing that's great. Now it's the Lord, all right, that's allowing us to be great, man, okay? The Holy Spirit, which is the pure influence from on high, that's where our greatness comes from. So this is, St. John 15:1, it says, I am the true vine, okay, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away, and every branch that beareth fruit, he purges it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No man said, no more can you, except ye abide in me. Okay, so the only way that we're able to be fruitful in the truth is to be abide in Yahweh Shai. Okay, because you can be popular, all right. As we can see, you can be popular in Israel. You can have a big following and get praise and even get money and have particular things on this side. All right, but you're not bearing fruit of the elect. Okay, you just got you're just you see, you're just pretty much a king of the 2/3, a leader of the 2/3. Okay, you're just gathering fruit to be destroyed. You're just gathering men, okay, to be destroyed. You see, like I say, so people get it confused, in this society that popularity means you're right. Okay, status and money, and sounding deep on camera means that you're right and the Lord is dealing. Okay, but then you look at the fruit that's being produced. Okay, you look at the fruit of Sakari. Okay, the fruit of IUIC. Okay, the fruit of ISUPK, man. There's a lot of Israelites being gathered for the slaughter. And there's some elect amongst them that, hey, the Lord gonna draw out. Okay, and you best, because there's people that's left. All right, so you best believe that that the elect amongst them is getting few and few. It's scraping the barrel at this point. The way things are going. Okay, but to really produce fruit, meat of repentance, we have to be attached to Yahweh Shai. We have to be tapped in and linked in with Yahweh Shai to produce, okay, and to bear fruit. All right, there's meat for repentance, man. There's meat to be delivered, man. Okay, so going back here, let's go back to Joshua, the 7th chapter. Okay, I believe he was at the 7th or 8th verse. Yeah, the 7th. Yep. It said, then Joshua cried out, O sovereign Lord, why did you bring us across the Jordan River if you are going to let the Amorites kill us? If only we had been content to stand on the other side. So Joshua even doubting himself, man. Showing you like the Lord knows how to break our confidence, man. Like, you see, the Lord knows how to take us on the highest highs, and he can bring us to the lowest lows, man. It's all in the will, all right, of Yahweh B'Shem Al Shai. Okay, so the Lord can, he can take us on the highest highs and bring us on the lowest lows. Because, hey, just last week, Joshua was this great, military general. The favor of the Lord is with him. He just took down Jericho, which was a mighty city, in the 6th chapter. And then you get here, you come to these little peep squeaks of and they get defeated. and it broke Joshua's confidence, man. He like, we should have just stayed on the other side. So, he pouted a little bit. All right, and the Lord, all right, you know, as we know the Heavenly Father by now, you know his approach. Okay, as we're gonna keep reading, it says, Lord, what can I say now that Israel has fled from its enemies? For when the Canaanites and all the other people living in the land hear about it, they will surround us and wipe our name off the face of the earth. And then what will happen to honor your great name? But the Lord said to Joshua, get up. Why are you lying on your face like this? All right, so Most High, get your ass up. You know, why are you lying on your face? You know, as he finna tell him exactly why. All right, just like he told Job, look, gird up your loins like a man before we even talk, you know. So he's straightening Joshua out, you see. And the Lord will handle us like that, man. You see, this world doesn't know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You know, there's a very big misconception of who the power of the Bible is and his son. Okay, and that's why judgment's gonna come and straighten all that up. Okay, and it says Israel, verse 11, Israel has sinned and broken my covenant. They have stolen some of the things that I commanded must be set apart for me. And they only, it says, and they have not only stolen them, but have lied about it and hidden the things among their own belongings. That is why the Israelites are running from their enemies in defeat. For now Israel itself has been set apart for destruction. I will not remain with you any longer unless you destroy the things among you that were set apart for destruction. Get up, command the people to purify themselves in preparation for tomorrow, for this is what the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai, all right, the power of Israel says. Hidden among you, O Israel, are things set apart for the Lord. You will never defeat your enemies until you remove these things from among you. In the morning you present yourselves by tribes, and the Lord will point out the tribe to which the guilty man belongs. That tribe must come forward with his clans, and the Lord will point out the guilty clan. That clan will then come forward, and the Lord will point out the guilty family. Finally, each member of the guilty family must come forward one by one. The one who has stolen what was set apart for destruction will himself be burned with fire along with everything he has, for he has broken the covenant of the Lord and has done a horrible thing in Israel. Early the next morning, Joshua brought the tribes of Israel before the Lord, and the tribe of Judah, all right, was singled out. Then the clans of Judah, all right, came forward, and the clan of Zerah was singled out. Then the families of Zerah came forward, and the family of Zamir was singled out. Every member of Zamir's family was brought forth person by person, and Achan was singled out. Okay, showing you how, matter of fact, let's get that. Okay, hey, nothing escapes judgment, man. Okay, nothing escapes judgment, man. There's nothing being done, okay, that's not going to be accounted for, man. You see? And that's why we understand, all right, we serve a power, okay, that's going to judge righteousness in the earth, man. Every spirit on earth is going to have to deal with judgment, man. And we pray that we find mercy in the time of judgment, man. You know, that's why we should be diligently, you know, redeeming the times. All the times that we was off, you know, in the world, okay, rebelling against our power, you know, we redeemed it by, hey, doing good, man, in faith, you know, hoping that the Lord has mercy, man, and humility as well, you know, keep staying humble, man, okay, because you go here, all right, but the Most High narrowed it down, you know, out of a whole tribe, you know, tens of thousands of Judites, okay, then narrowed it down to several thousand, then several hundred, you know, then a few dozen, and then narrowed it down, all right, to Achan himself, man, the guilty party, man, showing you that the judgment of the Lord don't miss, okay? ain't no being cute. And see, Jake act like they're being cute against the Lord, okay? Jacob try to justify themselves with precepts, be wrong as hell. Try to justify themselves with precepts and think because, you know, the masses agree with them as if, you know, the Lord has to honor that, man. showing you that there's a lot of men that call themselves leaders and teachers with reprobate mindsets, man. Okay? Nate and IUIC, these guys pull a precept trying to justify not teaching the name. Okay? And just because they congregation agree with it, they think that that's gonna ride. Like that's their validation. That's gonna hold up against the judgment that's to come. Okay? And them and everyone that follows them, all right, is gonna be in for a hell of a surprise, man. Okay? So you read this real quick. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 16, verse 15. Now, verse 11, this is the point. It says, and if there be one stiff neck among the people, it is a marvel if he escape unpunished. For mercy and wrath are with him. He is mighty to forgive and to pour out this pleasure. Okay? So he's mighty to forgive and pour out this pleasure. And he said, if there's one stiff neck among thee, there's a marvel if he go unpunished, man. So we're looking at this example of this stiff neck nigga Achan, okay? And we're finna see their punishment, man. Okay? So the Lord got everybody. You on the comment board and you just over there and you changing your avatars and all. Okay. Okay. Like people think that the Lord is some low level power. Okay? And Esau got everyone thinking like that, man. Okay? As if he's the one you should be worried about, but you can play with the Most High. You can play with Yahweh. Okay? Because the same niggas that play all these games, that know they Israelites, they don't play with Esau like that. Okay? You see? And that's why there's a great reckoning, coming amongst Israel, man. Those that know that they're Israelites, man. Okay? So you go back into it, the book of Joshua, all right? Verse 19, it said, then Joshua said to Achan, my son, give glory to the Lord, the power of Israel, by telling the truth. Make your confession and tell me what you've done. Don't hide it from me. Achan replied, it is true. I have sinned against the Lord, Yahweh Bashim al-Shai, the power of Israel. Among the plunder, I saw a beautiful robe from Babylon, 2,000 silver coins, and a bar of gold weighing more than a pound. I wanted them so much that I took them. They are hidden in the ground beneath my tent, with the silver buried deeper than the rest. So Joshua sent some men to make a search. They ran to the tent and found the stolen goods hidden there, just as Achan had said, with the silver buried beneath the rest. They took the things from the tent and brought them to Joshua and all the Israelites. Then they laid them on the ground in the presence of the Lord. Then Joshua and all the Israelites took Achan, the silver, the robe, and the bar of gold, his sons, daughters, cattle, donkey, sheep, goats, tent, and everything he had, and they brought them to the valley of Achor. Then Joshua said to Achan, why have you brought trouble on us? Because men died because of this nigga. Jake died. Okay? Families lost their, their husbands and fathers, brothers, nephews. Okay? Because of this nigga, man. Okay? Because of his wickedness, man. Because his covetousness, man. Okay? And it says, then Joshua said to Achan, why have you brought trouble on us? The Lord will now bring trouble on you. And all the Israelites stoned Achan and his family and buried their bodies. They piled a great heap of stones over Achan, which remains this day. That is why the place, all right, has been called the Valley of Trouble ever since. So the Lord was no longer angry, man. Okay, and this, as the spirit is called the Valley of Trouble. And you got Jacob's trouble, all right, that's getting ready to happen. And the Lord's anger is going to be quenched, when he get busy on niggas in the earth, man. Those that know that they're Israelites and those that don't know, okay? 2/3 as a whole, man, that's going to quench the Lord's anger to get at these niggas, man. Okay? But when the Lord, brought that judgment upon Achan, it said his anger was no more towards Israel, and Joshua, they went back, to business as usual, man. But they had to get rid, all right, they had to get rid of the filth, and you see that, like, being a part of a camp, and there's certain guys, that just bring a bad vibe to the camp. The camp will get stagnant, the vibration will be low. But when that guy's removed from the camp, the camp just started to flourish in every way, You see, just in my short time, just seeing that happen, a few times, have certain men just bring a bad aura to the camp because they off, and things have to be sorted out. And when that's, when that bad spot, that stain removed, man, you see that camp, flourish, man, So let's go back to the book of, matter of fact, let's get that in Proverbs. Move. Might be cast. Yep, this is Proverbs 22:10. It says, "Cast out the scorner, and contention shall go out. Your strife and reproach shall cease." Okay? And that's why, hey, there's a lot of times we have to reevaluate, because this is on different levels, because sometimes there's certain qualities, that we need to get rid of, for us to excel, in the spirit, okay? Certain environments we need to stop going around so we can excel in the spirit, even, poor food, which we know we can only get the best of the worst, okay? But even, how we eat, certain things you need to get rid of, for us to operate, in a better state. Certain people, that the Lord to get rid of so we can operate, in the excellent, state in the spirit. You see, certain jobs, the Lord remove us from, okay? Certain, so it's on a lot of levels, casting out the scorner, There's certain things that can be an enemy to us, and certain people that can be an enemy to us, man, and weigh us down in the spirit. Okay, so let's the music, certain music, well, let's go here back to 1 Samuel chapter 4. Okay, 1 Samuel chapter 4. All right, so now the news is about to be brought back to Eli. What happened? Okay, so you go back to 1 Samuel 4:12. It says, "A man from the tribe of Benjamin ran from the battlefield and arrived at Shiloh later that same day. He had torn his clothes, and put dust on his head to show his grief. Eli was waiting beside the road, to hear the news of the battle, for his heart trembled for the safety of the Ark of the Covenant. When the message arrived and told what had happened, an outcry resounded throughout the town. What is it? What is all the noise about?" Eli asked. The messenger rushed over to Eli, who was 98 years old and blind. He said to Eli, "I have just come from the battlefield. I was there this very day." "What happened, my son?" Eli demanded. "Israel has been defeated by the Philistines." The messenger replied, "The people have been slaughtered, and your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, were also killed, and the ark of the Most High had been captured." When the messenger mentioned what happened to the ark of the Most High, Eli fell backward from his seat beside the gate. He broke his neck and died, for he was old and overweight. He had been Israel's judge for 40 years, man. Okay, so they're telling him all this bad news, and they got to the point about the Ark of the Covenant, and he just collapsed, and then he was overweight, okay, which that's an indicator, that because they would eat, all that good meat off the sacrifice, man. You see, him and his sons, they would, his sons would confiscate the meat, okay, And the way he died, there's a painful death to fall on your neck. Okay, and when he heard about his sons, it wasn't no reaction. Them niggas. You see, but when he told him about the Ark of the Covenant, he fell backwards, and broke his neck. All right, and that was the judgment of the Lord. It says Eli's daughter-in-law, the wife of Phineas, was pregnant, and near time of glory, and it's like it says Eli's daughter-in-law, the wife of Phineas, was pregnant, and near her time of delivery. When she heard that the ark of the Most High had been captured, and that her father-in-law, all right, and husband were dead, she went into labor and gave birth. She died in childbirth, but before she passed away, the midwives tried to encourage her. Don't be afraid. They said, you have a baby boy. But she did not answer or pay attention to them. She named the child Ichabod, which means, where is the glory? For she said, Israel's glory is gone. She named him this because of the ark of the Most High had been captured, okay, and because her father-in-law and husband were dead. Then she said, the glory has departed from Israel, for the ark of the covenant has been captured. Okay, so that was the judgment, and it hit at once. It was a build-up, to the judgment of Eli, his sons, his family. Okay, and it hit at once, man. Okay, which showing you that the actions, okay, of leadership and men, all right, certain you women that's kikiing and laughing at these niggas wilding out, and these, okay. You see, the child was born premature. Then it had a omen, Ichabod, which, where's the glory? Okay, so the judgment just hit full circle, man. Okay, you see. So as we say, let's go here. We can end it here in Galatians. And this how judgment gonna hit in these times. It's gonna hit hard. It's gonna be quick. All this is happening in a day's time. You see, all this happening in a day's time with Eli. Okay, with this guy Achan and his madness. His family suffered. Okay. So let's go here. This is Galatians 6:7. It says, be not deceived, the Most High is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he reap. Okay, and it's all cute when you sowing. When you got fanboys and cheerleaders and money coming in, and all this clout. You on this podcast, you flying here, you doing this, and houses and cars, and you got this coming up, and you a marriage counselor, you a life coach, you're a chief priest. Okay, you this great bishop and general, and coming in on horses. It's all cute when you sowing, but when that reaping come, that's when smiles gonna disappear. That's when the laughing gonna disappear, man. Okay, and a lot of Israelites think the Most High is mocked. Okay, as if they can play this game of, talking about the law. They try to run to the law like they're justified in their wickedness. Okay, because they boast in the law. Not because they keep the law, because they boast in the law. They think they're justified in their wickedness, man. How off is that? Showing you that the Most High gives you over to a reprobate mind when he wants to preserve you for judgment. And he allows you to follow reprobate leadership when you're being reserved for judgment, man. Okay? You see? So, verse 9 said, for he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the spirit shall of the spirit reap life everlasting, man. Okay? And as we, sow to spiritual things, all right, we're investing in eternal life, man. As we're constantly, being refined, with the chastisement of the Lord, making adjustments, finding ways to get better. You see, really, growing in this thing. We're actually growing into immortals, man. We got to look at it like that. We're actually growing into immortals, man. through the glory of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Okay? But as you see, Jake is sowing to the flesh. They're reaping in the flesh, man, which is corruption. Okay? Well, we're seeing amongst these guys that these guys' spirits have been heavily corrupted. Okay? And poor leadership, okay, is going to affect a lot of Israelites down the stretch, man. That's what we're getting ready to see play out. Okay? Verse 9, it says, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not, man. In due season we shall reap if we faint not. Okay? So, yeah, we're in the time, all right, where we want to reap, for well-doing, for obedience, okay, for discipline, man, for steadfastness in the truth, man. Okay? We want to, well, we'll get this here. So I said that the scriptures say it better. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 4 and verse 28. It says, strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. So we want Yahweh Bashim Yahushua to fight for us, as we strive for truth. We want our power, to fight for us in these times, man. Where we know we're behind enemy lines, all right, and we're going to be targeted, okay, because of who we are and what we believe, okay. So we understand we need a higher power to intervene on our behalf, man. So we going to do everything we can on our end, which is strive for the truth, even unto death, let the Lord fight for us, man, okay. So that was the point, Lord will, all right, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the whole